Such an honor, such an honor. Thank you for having me.
So how do I say this in French? You're welcome. Bon arrivé.
Actually, yeah, here, many people say bon arrivé, which is the way the Francophone, African Francophone countries say it.
Okay.
It literally means good arrival.
Okay.
And in French, France's French, we would say bienvenue.
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 And then what's your response?
I would just say thank you, I think.
Okay.
You know,
you say merci in French.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
And ti akwarba.
Medase.
You still have it. You still do have it.
What
keeps you coming back to Ghana? You haven't had enough of the wache, the kinky, and all?
No, I certainly haven't had enough of anything here.
Okay.
I love the people here. You need to travel to realize that there is something special about Ghana that you come back to. And it's nice and warm. Even the climate, you see, you can say, oh my God, it's hot. But it's like a hug all the time. You feel like you're in a blanket that would be a velvet blanket. And the kindness of the people is also making you feel like you're welcome, and you feel at ease, you feel secure, you feel appreciated. And I have a property in Ghana, so...
You do?
Yes, so I keep coming back also to go to my house. And I keep coming back, and I hope people won't be fed up with seeing me coming back.
I don't think we will ever be. You changed the entire narrative. I mean, we've had so many ambassadors and diplomats coming into Ghana, but I don't know about you people out there, but you are the first example of one who ate our own food. As I said in my introduction, you wore our own clothes. You were eating agbelika clothes, buffaloes everywhere. You ate everything Ghanaian.
Yeah.
First of all, were you not thinking about your stomach maybe getting tummy upset or anything?
I usually asked not too spicy, because you know, if I have wache, I skip the shito because it's usually far too spicy.
Yeah.
The thing you call light soup has nothing light. And it's very spicy as well. And I mean, my limit is the spiciness.
Right.
That's where I really can't. You know, when you start sweating and your mouth is on fire, so you really have to stop.
You don't like that part.
And then I'm still struggling with the fufu and the banku because I chew it.
No.
I know, right?
Akosua, you're supposed to swallow it.
Yeah, I have to work on that.
In Nigeria, they actually call it swallow.
Oh, right.
Yeah, that's how they call it in Nigeria.
Oh, at least it's clear. It makes it clear.
Exactly. But here it's not clear, right?
So you're fufu, so you go...
No. You're supposed to swallow it.
Okay.
And then any other thing that comes with it, like the meat or the fish, you can chew. But the fufu or the banku, you're supposed to swallow. So that's the part you're
that's where I'm not
100%
Ghanaian. But there are some true Ghanaians who say, but I don't do fufu either. So I feel like,
it's true.
Okay.
There's some guys who've never even eaten banku. There are those people.
But I love the fact that you enjoy the food so much. You can use your fingers. You know, what I've been told ever since I was a little child, don't use your fingers.
True.
I come here, and it's so much better when you eat the meat with your finger. You can eat the bones
with your fingers
and lick your fingers and enjoy the whole thing.
Right.
So you have a way of life, of enjoying life, that is, you know, it matches the things I really enjoy. So I don't know for other people, some people who would be very repressed and love to eat with knife and fork, they may not be at ease. But I felt at home from the day one when I arrived in Ghana.
Here.
And really the people are definitely making this country a wonderful place to live, really. Let alone you have wonderful sites to visit, you have wonderful heritage, you have wonderful music, be it traditional or international music that you're doing, you have wonderful comedians, so you really have a lot here. And what I find so touching is that you don't seem to realize how amazing you guys are. And it seems to be just naturally and, you know, effortless. And you don't realize that you are just incredible. And that for us, when we come from overseas and we're like, these guys, they are amazing. They don't seem to know.
We don't even know what we have.
Yeah, I think you don't realize that you have gold in your hearts, in your hands, in your brains, and what you do is just absolutely extraordinary. And people are very humble and always looking up to the West, thinking that it's better, but it's certainly not. Certainly not, because what you do with a soul. You do with an extra soul that, you know, that makes your music so popular internationally. There's something added.
And so now that you've mentioned music, it was actually one of the questions I was going to ask a bit later, but let's talk about it now. Your love for the arts, it's just impeccable. Is it just because of the love you have for Ghanaians, or it's actually because your dad was also a music producer and manager and all that?
I think that being born in an environment where at home music was playing all the time.
Okay.
And at that time, artists would send tapes, you know, to the company and hoping to be noticed and then to be invited in studio to record a record. So it was a very different time, 1980s. And at that time, I used to love the music that was playing because it was the 1970s, beginning of the 80s. The creation was crazy. You had the American, if you remember, Supertramp, the Police, Pink Floyd, it was the end of the Beatles and this kind of stuff. And since then, nothing new has been done. Right. It was remixes of those things, but there was nothing new. And so I lost interest in music. And I kept listening to my old records of the 1970s. And I said, my music clock has stopped in the 1970s. And when I arrived here, I started listening. Well, you have music everywhere, on the street, everywhere. And I was like, this is amazing. What is it? And I started shazamming the songs
that you would hear.
And I was like, this is incredible. And I started digging. And the fact that here in Ghana, artists support each other through featurings. I listened to Sarkodie, Happy Days, and then I said, oh, but who's that guy singing with him? Oh, that's Kwame Eugene.
Yes.
So you go and listen, you go on YouTube or Boomplay and say, what else is he doing?
Exactly.
And you listen to Coachella and say, oh, this is Kwesi Arthur.
Right.
And then you go, and that's how you discover other artists. And I really fell in love with all of them. And I was lucky to meet some of them as people because of the TV show that I was hosting. And I realized that not only are they incredible artists, international standards. I'm not trying to flatter you. I mean, look at now when they are going. They have a blast in the US, the UK, Germany, everywhere they're going. The places are sold out, absolutely packed, and people are singing along.
Yes, they are.
So they didn't learn it just an hour before. They've been knowing and enjoying and listening to it for a long time. And these people are also amazing people. They're also humble people. They never forget where they come from. Right. They want to give back to the community where they come from. They are completely concerned with the audience, to give the very best to the audience, because they know that through their music they are bringing joy, they're bringing hope, they are role models. And they take that very seriously. Right. I admire them as people as much as musicians.
Thank you. We thank you for all of that. But let me ask, is that what birthed this whole idea of Paris and Accra in Paris? That's what birthed it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
There were some French artists who wanted to, at the beginning, was to shoot videos in Ghana. At the beginning, they wanted to go and shoot the music videos of some of their songs in Nigeria. And they happened to meet, I don't know, randomly, I don't know how it happened, Bolloré was in Paris having a drink in some rooftop with my son.
Right.
And they connected and started discussing with these people who were at the table next to them, and they were talking about Nigeria. And the idea popped up and said, but why would you go to shoot in Nigeria? Why don't you come to Ghana? We have everything, ocean, seaside, Jamestown. You know, if you look for a setup, an environment to do different music videos, everything is there. And they said, why not? And on the spot, they made reservations for flight tickets to come to Ghana. Right then.
Really?
So by the time they sorted the visas and everything, they arrived here. And the purpose was really to shoot some music videos.
Okay.
Because they were French, we got to come together.
Right.
And I said, but why don't you do featurings with Ghanaian artists? So Bola introduced them to some of them, I introduced them to others, and it was COVID. So it was very complicated.
I remember, just when you arrived, COVID hit, I remember.
So we had to find a way to put them together in the studio so they could actually record together. And only in one case, that is Becca, they managed to record each on their side, and they performed this amazing song together on stage and in Paris and Accra. Because when I heard the song they produced together in French and English and with both those French artists. Passy is the one who introduced rap in France, so he's a huge star in France. And when I listened to what they did, I said, you need to perform that on stage. So we did the Paris and Accra, and when I looked at the crowd, watching and enjoying and singing along and really having a fantastic moment, I looked behind me and I said, there's people from everywhere. There were Ghanaians, there were people from Francophone Africa, there were French people, there were European people, and I said, this is diplomacy, putting people together. We need to do that. Take these artists to France because they deserve, and the French deserve to know them, put it this way. And we need to have this kind of audience that brings people together. And that's where the idea to take them to France and then in a huge venue called Élysée Montmartre happened in April.
And what's the response you got after that? And number two, so now that you're no more French ambassador to Ghana, of course, you are in charge of the whole of Africa right now, Diplomacy for Africa. Congratulations on that one. Would it still continue? Or that's the end?
I think it was a thing that I initiated with Bola, actually, because he's the one who's pushed me into all those crazy things. Now, it is self-sustainable, so it takes a promoter to try and do that again. But there was an opportunity of doing featurings with French artists, but now that Ghanaian artists go to France, I know that they have connected with French artists. I know that Stoneboy has done a featuring with Modelka, and there are many more coming. So they are big enough to I
be
just
by
open
themselves,
the door, and now they can do it. And then it takes a promoter to say, why don't you perform in France? And in France, we also have many festivals. And it's up to them, if they want to go and be built on those festivals. So you already have a crowd, and you give an opportunity to this crowd to discover them if they don't know them yet.
Yeah, I see. Anyway, so like I said, congratulations one more time. After serving your term here as French ambassador, we all remember that last IG video that you did. It was so emotional. I watched you on that last IG video. So you go back to France, and then you become the ambassador in charge of public diplomacy in Africa. First of all, is it an office that already existed, or it was created just for you and because of what you did in Ghana?
A bit of both. There was a posting that existed, but not with this wide competency. The president extended it when he said, okay, what you did in Ghana, how can we replicate in a different way, adapted to the country where we are? And I said, this is very simple. It's about respect, humility, listening, working with the people, blending, and then you understand the country and you see the bits and pieces where you can actually create bridges. That's as simple as that. So he said, yeah, let's see if we can do that, make it a policy of the way we do public diplomacy, and then go to the different African countries, especially the ones where we have trouble at the moment because the image of France is not so good, and
there are some countries like that.
Oh yes, because
well,
the former French colonies, the resentment has been there for a long time, and I think maybe we didn't address it properly, and suddenly things have built up. Above resentment, there was some sort of I don't know, some fantasy built up on that, and then we were accused of lots of things, and we probably miscommunicated, and we probably were too distant, and people thought we were arrogant. There might be an explanation. In any case, we need to be much more open about what we do, and say, okay, this is your country, and here's what we are here for, and we're not obliged to cooperate. It's really, it takes two to tango. If you don't want to cooperate with us, we will just go. So it's also up to you to say what you want to do in terms of cooperation. But this is a very different mindset from the way we probably have operated for a long time. Just because they were former French colonies, the French embassy out there, we tended to think, oh, we know them. We've been there for 100 years. So we maybe behaved in a way like we knew them and we knew what they wanted and what they needed, forgetting that in a continent where the majority of the people is the youth, the people that we are working with today are no longer the ones we knew 30 years ago.
Yeah.
They're brand new. Africa has changed. Every single country has changed, evolved in a different way. So we need to come now in a country, even if it was a former colony and we think we know, because we've read a lot about it, because we need to come with a very open mind and say, okay, you're no longer the same. We changed as well. So let's start again from fresh.
But Your Excellency, take us all the way back. Before all of this happened, did you think all through your life that you were going to be a diplomat? Had you wanted to be one all your life?
No.
So where are we coming from? How did this whole journey begin for you?
The thing is, I know it's probably not very inspirational. It's not a good advice for the youth to say, because normally you should say, oh, you must have a purpose and work hard for this purpose.
But sometimes life doesn't go like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so all I did was keep a very open mind and seize the opportunities when they were there. And each time I was offered an opportunity, I thought, really? Do you really think I would be able to do it? And because I thought that the people who gave me that opportunity trusted me more than I trusted myself, I was giving the very best, trying to live up to their expectations. And at the end of the day, I feel that when walking is bending forward. Otherwise, you cannot move forward. If you're not, so you have to be unbalanced. If you are very stable,
in one
you
place,
can't walk. So I've always gone for jobs where I said, okay, I will feel very insecure. It's outside my comfort zone, but that will keep me on my toes, and that will probably make me better because I don't come with foreseen ideas or prejudice or anything. And I've come to realize, and maybe that's just the way I work, whenever I was in a comfort zone and I enter a room thinking, oh, I know everything. I don't even have to open my notes and read my notes. I know everything. That's where you go wrong. So I need to challenge myself all the time. And even if sometimes I'm absolutely scared, because before being a diplomat, I was in the private sector, and then I took a competition exam and joined the senior civil service, not knowing at all what I could expect. Went to the Ministry of Transport, was headhunted to go and join the French Shipowners Federation, and they asked me to be their Director General. I was like, I know nothing about shipping. Why would you want me? And because I knew nothing, I was really like a scholar, trying to do my very best. And I actually put this federation that was completely drowning back on track and changing also the way we were operating. And then I went to the Ministry of Defense. And again,
from transport to defense.
And again, I was like, well, why would you want me? I mean, I know nothing about defense. I'd say, yeah, but we have some complicated matters to handle, and we know that you like very untangled stuff, you will handle it. And I was like, okay. So I tried, and I really enjoyed it. It was a different environment. It was different. And then I shifted it within the Ministry of Defense to become the Director of Human Resources for the whole ministry. And I freaked out because I thought, wow, running 300,000 people, how am I going to do that? And eventually, you know, you take things step by step. And I always thought, if people think I can do it, well, at least I have to give my very best to live up to that. And one day, I was invited to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs by the special advisor to the minister. And at the end of lunch, he said, how about becoming an ambassador? And I just spit my coffee. And I was like,
what did you say?
Actually, I was speechless. I couldn't understand why me, how, I've never been a diplomat, why, how can I do this? I said, well, I think you would do a great job. So I'm very grateful to this guy because he was the best human resources director ever, because he saw something in me that I had no idea of. And that's how, you know, eventually I just grasped opportunities. And if some people say, I'm sure you can have an added value, you can do something, I say, okay, let's give it a try. And because I will feel unbalanced and insecure, I will give my very, very best to live up to those expectations. That's certainly no good advice for the youth, because they probably should have a clear purpose
keep focus and all
stay
that.
Focused and everything. But I think keep an open mind to opportunities that can arise. And if you do your very best in everything that you are asked to do, someone will notice you. And I have never, ever written an application letter. I've never applied for a job, ever.
The opportunities just
came.
coming at you.
Because when you are working and when you're doing your very best, you think that nobody notices. But actually, there are people who are watching, and they need to find someone for some positions. And they've seen you. And then one day, out of the blue, they will come and say, I've noticed you.
Right.
Come. So if you do your job feeling frustrated that you're not doing, that you're not paid enough or anything, you don't seem to realize that you might be completely destroying yourself by doing that. But if you keep going, someone will notice you and say,
exactly,
I have something for you.
That's why you're supposed to brighten the little corner that you are all the time, every time actually. That's interesting. But we want to know about your younger self. Before all this happened, I'm sure.
Ages ago. That is ages
but we still want to know. We still want to know if you grew up all the way, like all your lifetime in France and all that. Oh, you didn't?
No.
So you see why we want to know? So tell us.
I grew up in Belgium. So I moved to Belgium when I was like 5.
Okay.
And in Belgium...
Moved from France?
From France,
to Belgium?
Yes.
Okay.
And in Belgium, people speak 2 languages.
Right.
Which is quite impressive when you are in Europe, but when you're in Ghana, so what? We speak.
We have too many languages
here. You have so many, and you all each of you speaks 3, 4, 5, and it's just
we do.
And it's no wonder you're like, oh, okay, so what? So when I arrived in Belgium, my parents said, okay, let's take the opportunity for her to go to a school where she will learn another languages. I'm very grateful for that because I got to learn Dutch when I was 5 and a half.
You still speak Dutch?
A bit, yes,
okay.
a bit. I understand it.
Okay.
But I haven't spoken it.
But not very fluent.
I'm no longer very fluent because I haven't spoken it for like 40 years.
Right.
So, but I still pick it up and I still understand. When I hear Dutch people, I'm like, so I can understand. It's been very helpful sometimes in international negotiations because the Dutch are very harsh in negotiations.
I've been told, yeah.
Yeah, when they think they can talk apart, nobody listens. They speak Dutch because what are the chances that a French
nobody will understand.
Nobody will understand. And I actually did. So that was very helpful. And that really helped me learn English and German and Russian quite easily later.
So can you speak Russian?
Yeah, a bit, yes. And it's also very helpful. I've never been to Russia because in my young age, when I could have traveled to Russia to learn, the Iron Curtain was still there. The communist bloc was still there. It was very, very difficult to travel to Russia.
We need you as mediator between Russia and Ukraine. Would you do that for us?
I think that's my diplomatic skills that are missing here.
Exactly.
That's missing here. I think we are beyond diplomacy there.
Oh, wow. I see. So Belgium, and then after Belgium, where?
And then we came back to France when I was 12.
Okay.
And I had to relearn French.
Because you had forgotten all of it?
Well, we spoke it at home, but no, I wasn't studying in French, so I was not as good in French as students who had been to school and who had learned proper French. And so I was making mistakes. I had a terrible Belgian accent, speaking French, so I had to relearn all of that. And it was a bit of a shock coming back from Belgium because it's a very small country, Belgium, but it was far ahead of us in many respects. There was already like 100 TV channels where France still had 3 public channels. It's a test market for many products. So in Belgium, there were many, many products that we had that we didn't have in France anymore or that we didn't have in France yet or never came to France. In food or even appliances, all sorts of things that were, because Belgium was a test market. And the open-mindedness in Belgium, because we were right in the middle of the European construction in the 1970s, it was so bubbly and enthusiastic about building something, building a regional integration. And so in my school and everywhere where I was living, we had people from all around Europe. So I grew up in this very international environment where we had people from everywhere, even from Africa, from the Arab countries. And to me, this melting pot was just normal. And when I went back to France, everyone was speaking French and only French. And it was quite weird because because it's a big country, we're like self-sufficient and we're not so open to the rest of the world that as Belgium or the Netherlands may be. Because Belgium is so small that if they were not open to the rest of the world, they would just die. It's just as small as a region, as a province in France. So yeah, coming back to France was quite an interesting moment. So I approached my own country with a foreigner's eyes.
Yeah.
And rediscovered my country. That was only where I would go for Christmas, for my grandparents, but I didn't feel 100% French.
Right.
I had to become French.
Exactly.
Right?
I see.
And that's it. And then I just studied, and I had very strict parents, so studying was, failing was not an option. And that's how.
So the rest of your education was
in France.
Okay.
From 12 years old.
Exactly. And then you moved from one corporate institution to the other, from transport to security. You mentioned, was it security? Defense.
Defense.
Exactly.
Defense.
And then finally becoming a diplomat.
And we never know what's next.
Exactly.
I could go back to the private sector.
So where's your office now? In France?
My office is in Paris.
Okay.
And I go around in African countries.
Okay.
So I had a chance to go to Burkina. I had a chance to go to Cameroon, to Côte d'Ivoire, and to work with the ambassadors. Say how can we change the face of diplomacy.
Fantastic. I'm not done with you yet. I have a little Q&A with you. We'll just play a little game. Is that okay?
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. This is Akosua, of course. You're one of us, so don't be scared.
Okay.
I don't harm anybody. I'm very kind.
Okay. Well,
Ask about me. Ask
you
about
don't look
me.
like.
I am very I'm very.
You don't look
kind.
like too threatening.
It's
so
been
okay.
So it's been an interesting conversation with one of our very own, Her Excellency Anne Sophie Akosua Ave. As for the Akosua, we are never forgetting it. You're keeping it. Are you going to swear an affidavit and add it to your names?
Sorry?
Are you going to swear an affidavit and add the Akosua officially to your names?
I think it's now completely official because when I was in Paris, I was invited to a function, and on the table plan
they said Akosua.
They said Akosua, Madame Akosua. So I said, okay. So
the name has come to stay.
It's there. It's there.
It has come to stay. Anyway, so we'll move to that little corner and play our very little game. But for those of you at home, take a breather. We'll be right back. This is still today's woman, Akosua. Akosua, let's head over there. Let's go play our little game. No, I need my cue card with me. So that's the corner. I'm taking you so we play our little game, Q&A. No, right here.
Okay.
Right here. So this is your seat. I'll sit nicely by you. Let me know when you're ready. Don't fall.
Okay.
I got you.
Okay.
Are you good now?
Well, that's the most challenge I'm getting,
exactly,
right?
Yes. This is the only difficult part of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Get it.